Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's so good to see you all. My name is Juniper. I'm the managing producer for Feldenkrais Access, and I'm so happy to be here with you all for the first class of The Secrets of a Healthy Neck with David Zemach-Bersin. Welcome to you all. We're also joined today by Anastasi Siotis, who is a Feldenkrais trainer candidate. He's joining us from Manhattan. If you have any questions about the lesson today or any confusion or difficulties, please write into the Zoom chat if you're joining us from Zoom. And if you're joining us from YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, please write into the comments section of one of those platforms. And if you're doing this from the recording, please write into the comments section of whatever platform you're using. We very much want to help and are here to assist, so please don't hesitate. We are also joined today by Nadia Genois, who is a Feldenkrais practitioner in Montreal. Nadia is doing the lesson in sitting. So if you need to modify the instructions into a sitting position, you can see how Nadia is engaging with the instructions. I'll be spotlighting her periodically and following a new instruction. So please use Nadia as a resource. And if you don't see Nadia enough to follow along with how she's doing the lesson, please let me know by writing in, again, through whichever platform you're joining from. And also to offer you a general visual guide, I will be spotlighting our team of Feldenkrais practitioners who are doing the lesson as instructed along with you. So you can see on your screen if there's any confusion about left, right, things like that. And just a note for those of you who are joining us in Zoom, if you could please have your camera oriented so that your whole self is in view, that will enable David to orient his teaching directly to you. And if you don't wish to be seen, just press the stop video option on the Zoom menu. Just a couple of quick announcements. This is an 8-week class series. And please check the chat link to register. The early bird ends on April 15th, so please take advantage of that. And I want to let you know that we offer the option to pay in your local currency, and we also offer scholarships. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us about that. You can find us at communications@feldenkraisaccess.com, and you can write in. Ira will write that link into the chat so you can find it. And the first Q&A for the class series will be on April 23rd. So please do register and join us for that. Okay, I will now hand you over to David.
Thank you, Juniper. I'm David Zemach-Bersin, and I'd like to welcome you to our new series of lessons dedicated to understanding the secrets of a healthy neck. I've been a Feldenkrais teacher for 50 years, and in that time, I have seen many, many people with acute and serious neck pain and neck-related difficulties. And I'm thankful to each of those people, to every one of them, because they allowed me over time to develop an understanding of neck pain. And that has led me to today and what I'll be sharing with you in these 8 Feldenkrais lessons. Everything, of course, that we do in these classes will have at its foundation a holistic or an integrated view of our entire self, our body. In other words, a fundamental premise is that the state of our neck, the organization of our head and neck, is connected to the rest of ourselves, to our whole self, you might say. So that being said, I'd like to underscore how the orientation of our head and neck has a tremendous influence on our entire musculature. I think an influence that few of us really realize. But this is a simple physiological fact. Even the slightest change in the position of our head and neck changes the tonus or the contraction of every muscle in ourself, all the way down to our feet. And we'll talk about this a great deal more as we progress in these classes. But the important thing is that in my work with people, I've realized that almost all physical and functional difficulties are connected and often directly related to poor organization of our head and neck. Not only because the freedom of our head and neck is so important for our posture, our vision, our physical comfort, our healthy joints, ease of movement and flexibility, but also because the habitual organization of our head and neck frequently, and is very important to me, causes our nervous system to sustain or maintain a state of chronic stress or sympathetic dominance. So these are some of the reasons that I believe having a healthy neck really matters to our quality of life. So in these 8 classes, my goal is to provide you with the tools that you'll need to improve the organization of your head and neck, to reduce pain in the general sense, and address our habits of stress and tension that are related to our head and neck organization. And lastly, to give you the tools and solutions that you need for addressing neck pain or even neck discomfort when you have it. But I think the concluding idea to all that is that you're going to find a general benefit to all of the lessons that we do. Now, I'd like to say a few words for people who are here for the first time, who have maybe not done a Feldenkrais lesson before. Feldenkrais lessons work in a very different way from conventional exercise. We call them lessons because the whole premise of what we're doing is to communicate with the learning centers of our brain. And we combine, you'll find, gentle and sophisticated, neurologically important movements with a process of attending to our own experience. And I promise you will be successful. There will be nothing we do today that will be too challenging for you. And every lesson we do in this series has that idea at its foundation, that you will feel successful. Feldenkrais lessons access and stimulate these what are today we call the neuroplastic capacities of our brain and nervous system. And in this way, we build new neurological pathways which form new habits. So it's not a matter of having to repeat the lessons over and over again for months or for years, but you'll see that each lesson provides you with insights about yourself and new options for how to organize yourself. Now, what you can do to create the conditions for your own success and stimulating the learning centers of your brain is to do each movement slowly, to do only what is easy and comfortable, to avoid any pain, to make each movement very small. And you'll find that we rest, and I will guide you in all these ideas, that we pause or rest between each movement. Now, if you've come to today's class with neck pain, then I just urge you to really do each movement very, very small, to only do it as comfortable, and see if you can avoid provoking or eliciting any discomfort. All right. So just a small caveat. I'm not a doctor. These classes are not meant as a substitute for medical advice. And if you have chronic or acute neck pain, you should do what I would do, which would be to consult your personal doctor. All right. So now today's lesson will be lying on the floor. Most of the lessons, not all, most of the lessons we do in this class series will be lying on the floor. And I will, once you lie on the floor on your back, I will begin to guide you. There's nothing else you need to do. All right. So please lie on your back. Today's lesson will contain in it some very, very basic principles about providing our neck with what it needs to become more comfortable and better organized. And I'll bring those principles forward for you during the lesson. So please lengthen your legs, unless that's uncomfortable for you, and in which case, of course, you can have your knees bent. And we're just going to take a couple of minutes to sense and feel our contact with the floor. And just in a very simple way, there's no knowledge that you need. There's no information that you need. You're just sensing yourself to the ability that you can. So first, bring your attention to your right foot and just feel that there's the sole of your foot, there's the top of your foot, and your heel is clearly touching the floor. And you can feel that there's a direction of your foot. In other words, are your toes pointed toward the ceiling? Are your toes pointed towards the wall to the right of you? You just you could extend an imaginary line out from your big toe. And you just observe that. And now bring your attention to the back of your foot, your heel, your Achilles tendon. You can feel there's maybe a little space there. And then the back of your lower leg is clearly in contact with the floor. And you just kind of alternate between feeling yourself kind of externally, where you're contacting the floor, and internally. I just feel maybe you can allow, I should say, your right leg to lie a little more heavily upon the floor. And then you feel if you bring your attention up a little, there's the back of your knee. Maybe there's a little space there between the back of your knee and the floor. And then there's your upper leg, which the bone of your upper leg is called your femur. It's the longest bone. You probably know that, but it's the longest bone that we have. And you might be able to feel that there's a difference between sensing yourself internally, sensing your musculature, and sensing bone that has a kind of a density that muscle doesn't have. And then as you come up, you come to your right hip joint and the back of your pelvis. And now do the same thing from your left foot. Just simply, easily, in what I would call a non-evaluative way. In other words, you're not judging yourself. You're not being corrective in any way whatsoever. So your left foot, the sole of your foot, the top of your foot, and then slowly feeling there's the three-dimensionality of your leg, but there's also taking special note of where you're touching the floor and where you're not. That's right. And feeling if there's anywhere that what should we say, your musculature is working or contracted, and you can just relax a little bit in the back of your knee, and then up your thigh, the back of your thigh, the inside, the outside of your thigh, the part of your thigh that's facing the ceiling. That's right. And the left side of your buttocks. And now, see if you can sense that the left side of your pelvis or buttocks is lying on the floor slightly differently than the right side. You feel that? The one side is pressing a little more than the other. And you just make a mental note of that. And then come to your lower back, which begins just above your pelvis. And that area of your lower back, maybe part of your lower back is touching the floor. Maybe one side isn't touching the floor. This is an area where we have a natural arch in our lower back. And so it's common for our lower back to not be touching the floor in certain places. That's right. And then if you move your attention upwards, say from your spine upwards, and just feeling that there's certain places where the vertebra of your spine touch the floor, and other places maybe don't touch the floor. Some places are easy for you to feel and distinguish one vertebra from another, but other places are not so easy. Maybe you feel an area that's touching the floor, an area that's composed of many vertebrae. And that's just, we all are beginning at our beginning, not somebody else's beginning or a wishful beginning, but here, today, in this particular moment. That's right. And see if you can apply your attention in this way that we're doing without holding your breath. It's a challenge for some. In other words, that often when we apply our attention, there's a tendency to hold our breath. And then you come up your spine and you feel when you go to your neck, behind your neck, there may be another little space, just like in our lower back, where you're not touching the floor. And again, this is a second concave arch in our spine. That's right. And the back of your head and your right shoulder, where your shoulder blade is touching the floor or not touching the floor, and your left shoulder blade. And now compare. Does one shoulder blade feel to you to be closer to the floor or more in contact with the floor than your other shoulder? These are not things that we notice normally, but you'll see that these are easy sensory distinctions to make. For example, does one shoulder feel higher than the other? In other words, closer to one ear or the other ear? Does one shoulder feel more forward or back than the other? Of course, the one that's probably more in contact with the floor feels a little less forward. Maybe the contact of one shoulder blade feels a little wider than the other. And then there's your arms. Your right arm emanates from your shoulder girdle, and just feel the length of your right arm, and you can feel your elbow clearly touches the floor, and then your lower arm, and then the contact of your fingers with the floor. And then from your left shoulder, your left arm emanates. That's right. And you do the same thing. And then you find, oh, the fingers of my right hand are maybe lying on the floor differently than the fingers of my left hand. That's interesting. And what might account for that? But you'll see all these things that we're sensing and feeling now, these distinctions, they're all going to change as we proceed with the lesson. All right. And now just take a moment to sense the line of yourself, the vertical line of yourself from the back of your head down to your pelvis, and then your left leg, your right leg, your left arm, and your right arm. That's right. Those are what we might call the cardinal lines of ourselves, the way we used to draw ourselves as children in a stick figure. Now, bring your hands to your lower abdomen for a moment and just observe the movement of your lower abdomen as you inhale and exhale, not in any kind of exaggerated way. That's right. We're wanting to reduce the amount of time that we spend kind of self-consciously attempting to do what we think the teacher or the lesson or the class is asking of us. So I'd just like you to feel that movement of your abdomen without making any special effort. You can feel that the pressure of your abdomen against the palms of your hands changes. Very good. Now, slowly bend your right leg and stand your right foot, and bend your left leg and stand your left foot on the floor, and separate your feet about shoulder width apart. And put your left hand on your forehead with your fingers pointing to the right. That's it. And in that way, if you make your hand flat, you can just apply the tiniest bit of pressure and roll your head just a tiny bit to the right. And as soon as you feel, very slowly, as soon as you feel that there's a change in the pressure that you need to roll your head, you stop. So we're only interested in a minute movement of rolling, using your left hand to roll your head to the right. And then it's the moment, the second that you feel, oh, I'm pressing a little more, you stop and you bring your head back to the middle. And do that a couple of times. That's it. And just, okay. And bring your left arm down and bring your right palm to your forehead. Your fingers pointed this time to the left. And just slowly, that's right, and your elbow is away from the floor. And you just gently roll your head to the left. But the moment that you feel, oh, the quality of that movement changed, or I have to press a little harder, you come back. Okay? So, and this is to highlight that we are interested throughout what we do today to only do what qualitatively feels good, simple, easy. All right. Bring your right arm down. And now put your right hand behind your head with your right elbow facing toward the ceiling so that the inside of your right arm is near to your face. That's right. And now take your left hand and move it to your right elbow so that you can hold your right elbow with your left hand. Your fingers, your palm is pointed to the, directed to the right. Your fingers are grasping the outside of your elbow. And now slowly just use your left hand to move your right elbow to the left. That's all. You just very slowly, you pull just a little bit. Just a little bit. You pull your right elbow to the left, and then you come back to the middle. And you rest for a moment, and then you do that again. Just slowly. And see if you can exhale as you do that. See if you can exhale, which will help your chest to be a little softer as you pull your right elbow to the left. Just slow. It's a very small movement. If I were on the floor with you, you would see that I'm only moving my elbow an inch, 2 inches to the left. But you can feel clearly that in doing that, the inside of your right arm comes closer to your right cheek. You feel that? And if you direct your attention to the back of your head, you can feel that the back of your head, which is of course lying in your right hand, but you can feel that the back of your head is turning a little bit to the left. All right. Now, slowly bring your left hand away and rest it on the floor, and rest your right arm on the floor. And just maybe stretch out your legs and just observe again the right side of yourself compared to the left side of yourself. Your right shoulder blade compared to your left. Good. Now, please bend your knees again. Separate your feet shoulder width apart. That's it. Put your left hand behind your head. So the back of your head, not the back of your neck, but the back of your skull is lying in your left hand. And bring your elbow to be oriented toward the ceiling or forward. And now with your right hand, take your left elbow. That's it. So the motive force for what we're doing is with your right hand. And you pull your left elbow with your right hand so that your left arm comes a little closer to the left cheek, the left side of your face. That's it. And you can feel the back of your head turns a tiny bit. So you only do what's easy. You want to eliminate any quality of struggling, any quality of wanting to do more, and just to be satisfied. It is a small movement. And so I'm asking you to allow it to be small, to be satisfied with a small movement, and to eliminate the desire to achieve something or to make it bigger. That's right. Exhale as you pull your left elbow now to the right. That's it. Feel where you can soften your chest, maybe, where you can reduce the effort in your stomach, in your jaw, your neck. That's right. Just slowly. The exhaling allows your chest to be softer and for your abdomen to be a little softer, your stomach. That's right. Good. Please stop. Stretch out your legs and now observe. Is there a relationship between what we were just doing and some change that you possibly feel? Where your left shoulder blade, how your left shoulder's resting on the floor. Now, firstly, that's very interesting. You might be curious, how can it be? I do a few movements, albeit small, slow, and there's a change that you can notice, observe, feel. Please bend your knees as we've been doing. Stand your feet. Put your right hand behind your head. Take your right elbow with your left hand. See if maybe you're from the beginning, from the get-go, your inside of your right arm is a little closer to the right side of your face. And now slowly use your left hand to move your right elbow to the right. That's it. Away from your face. That's right. Doesn't have to be all the way to the floor, just a small movement, just slowly, so that you feel that your left hand is supporting the weight of your right elbow. That's right. Just a few inches as you exhale. Beautiful. Now, join these two movements. Use your left hand to take your right elbow a little to the left and a little to the right and a little to the left. That's right. And you can follow the trajectory or the arc through space that your elbow is making. And you can feel that when you take your elbow to the right, the back of your head doesn't move so much. But then when you bring the inside of your right arm close to the right side of your face, your head and elbow turn together or move together, just slowly. And now your job is just to feel, where can you do less? Less what? Less work, less muscular effort. Very nice. All right. Please rest again for a moment. You may think, why are we resting? We didn't do so much. I don't feel tired. We're not interested in exertion. We're not interested in feeling tired. We're interested in taking the breaks in order to sense and observe if anything is different. Would you say that somehow your upper back on your right side is, I don't know, a little wider than it was a moment ago? And bend your knees and organize your arms in the opposite way. In other words, your left hand supports your head from behind, and your right hand takes your left elbow. That's right. And your hand is oriented to the left so that your fingers can come around and grasp your your elbow, and you take your elbow to the left. That's it, away from your face. That's right. And you can feel maybe that your chest is turning a little to the left, that your left shoulder blade goes a little closer to the floor each time you move your left elbow a little. That's it. But still, you exhale as you do the movement, and you feel, where can you do less? We can always do less. It's a engaging and lifetime process, because we've all experienced stress in our life. Some of us severe stress, some of us less stress. But the way that we as human beings adapt to that stress is by contracting ourselves and habituating to the use of that unnecessary effort. And now move your left elbow to the right and see if it's somehow the tiniest bit easier than a few minutes ago. And now to the left and to the right, but small. To the left, and you feel what happens elsewhere. in yourself. In other words, you can feel your ribs are moving. That's it. Maybe your eyes move a little to the right or to the left, depending, of course, on your intention. And please stop, rest a moment. Observe the feeling of the length of your neck on your left side. And find that something very interesting is happening in your neck from these, well, you could say simple movements. Bend your knees, please. That's right. And tilt your knees just a tiny bit to the right, and then bring them back. So you tilt your knees a little to the right, and then you bring them back to the middle. And you can feel that each time you tilt your knees just a little to the right, but truly a small amount, that the left side of your lower back comes a little bit away from the floor. Sorry, the right side of your lower back comes a little bit away from the floor. That's it. Now, now move your attention as you tilt your knees to the left. Bring your attention to your right shoulder and see if you can feel that there's actually a very linked, connected relationship between your knees and your shoulder blades. And that each time you tilt your knees a few inches to the left, something changes in the contact of your right shoulder blade with the floor. Not that you do anything. I'm not suggesting at all that you do something, but just direct your attention. Good. Stop for a moment, stretch out your legs, just observe the right side of your lower back compared to the left side of your lower back. Please bend your knees. Put your right hand behind your head. Bend your knees. Stand your feet. Your right elbow toward the ceiling. Take your right elbow with your left hand. And now, slowly, as you pull your right elbow to the left, tilt your knees to the left. So that's right. Not one more than the other, as if the sensation of movement, if you were to take the measure of it, you'd be moving your chin the same number of degrees as your knees are moving. That's right. Just slowly. You can feel now that when you pull your right elbow to the left, that your right shoulder blade comes a little bit away from the floor, doesn't it? That's it. And now, as you tilt your knees to the left, move your eyes to the left as well. So in other words, your elbow is moving to the left, or you're pulling it to the left. And that's right. Your chin is turning a little to the left, and your eyes are turning a little to the left. Many of us, for many of us, the root of our neck discomfort is in the discoordination between our eyes, our vision, the way our eyes move, and the way our head and neck move. That's right. Can you feel that there's something about tilting your knees to the left that actually kind of helps your right elbow to move to the left? That's right. Beautiful. Please rest for a moment and observe if there's something that's happened to the right side of yourself compared to the left. For example, does your right leg feel longer than your left? Is the right side of your lower back lying closer to the floor than the left? And now please slowly bend your knees. Separate your feet about shoulder width apart. And now slowly tilt your knees to the right. That's right. Just tilting the knees. We'll wait a minute before doing anything else, but just as you exhale, you tilt your knees to the right. Just to feel, you can feel the pressure of your feet on the floor changes, doesn't it? And your pelvis turns a little bit. You can feel the left side of your pelvis kind of lightens its pressure against the floor, and the left side of your lower back. That's it. Even your chest, if you bring your attention to the back of your rib cage on the left side, you'll feel, oh, my chest is turning. In fact, all the way up your back is changing in relationship to that small innocuous movement of tilting your knees. Feel how the pressure of your feet on the floor changes, that the pressure of your left foot moves to the inside, doesn't it? And the pressure of your right foot on the floor moves to the outside of the foot. Okay, now put your left hand behind your head and your right hand to take your left elbow. That's it. And now slowly, as you exhale, you join those two movements of tilting your knees as you pull your left elbow to the right. Just simply. And feel where you can soften yourself, where you can reduce the effort. And now slowly take your eyes to the right also. In other words, consciously, deliberately. That's it. You can feel your head is turning, your chin, your nose, your chest. And that there's some way in which the tilting of the knees is helping the left elbow to move more easily to the right, and taking the elbow to the right is somehow the movement of the knees is a little lighter, a little easier. Beautiful. Please stop and rest again for a moment. Would you say that the back of your chest feels wider or narrower than when we started? Interesting, huh? And that the contact of your spine with the floor is greater or less, more or less? This time, please only bend your right knee and stand your right foot. And slowly, I'll explain to you what we're going to do. You're going to press your right foot into the floor to help you to roll your pelvis to the left. So it's not a matter of lifting your pelvis. It's a matter of turning your pelvis to the left. That's it. By thinking of pressing your right heel toward the floor. That's it. And see if you can think of your right knee as getting longer. In other words, not tilting to the left or to the right, but getting longer towards the wall that's below you. And you'll see that just that idea of integrating that idea of the knee, your right knee lengthening away from yourself, in other words, downward, makes it easier to produce what's necessary to roll your pelvis to the left. That's it. And feel if you can reduce the effort in your left leg, the left side of your chest, your left shoulder. Good. Now, put your right hand behind the back of your head, again, not behind your neck, and take your right elbow with your left hand, and now join these two movements. In other words, pushing from your right foot down to the floor, down to the earth, to roll your pelvis to the left as you pull your right elbow to the left. That's it. Just slowly relaxing your abdomen as much as you can. That's it. Feel where you can soften your chest, your jaw, your tongue. That's it. Feel how your head is, what we say, nestled. You feel that? It's kind of attached now to the inside of your right arm. That's right. See if you can do that. Some of you are pulling your chin down. See if you can inhibit that tendency, which is, of course, something that you do often. And now feel that the entire right side of yourself is coming a little bit away from the floor, or the weight or pressure of the right side of yourself is decreasing. That's it. And your eyes to the left. Very good. Please stop and stretch out again and just observe or lengthen your legs. I'm afraid that stretching out might mean something a little different than just resting. And observe now, is something different about the right side of yourself? And the improvement is unlimited. You feel each variation, somehow the brain is able to incorporate the information from that variation into what? More deeply and internally reducing the unnecessary effort. And we said that unnecessary effort is connected to our experience of stress. That unnecessary effort became incorporated in the way that I use myself and feel myself. Please bend your left knee, stand your left foot, and use now your left foot to help you to create a fulcrum to roll your pelvis a little to the right. So again, the key here is that your pelvis is not lifting toward the ceiling at all. It's rolling toward the ceiling. Sorry, rolling toward the right. That's it. And now I think it's pretty easy to feel how that movement of your pelvis rolling to the right, you can feel it pretty easily in your shoulders. In other words, that connection is easier for you to sense. And that's the amazing thing about directing our attention in this way, which is that it very quickly expands exponentially our ability to feel ourselves, the distinctions that we can make. And now put your left hand behind your head. Take your left elbow with your right hand. That's it. And join those two movements of pulling your elbow. Your head is just resting. And your head is, we could say that your head is being carried to the right, isn't it? That's it. But only what's easy. The idea is that idea is still foreground for you, of only doing what's comfortable, of only doing what's, you can say, oh, that was easy. I hardly felt I was doing anything at all. And yet I rolled a little to the right. And your eyes to the right. Feel how your chest is turning. And you just, again, you allow your attention to wander about yourself internally, of course, to feel where you can do less. That's right. And feel how the back of your head is turning. That's right. And how the left side of yourself is now lifting a little bit away from the floor. That's it. And you find that the clearer you get about that movement of your eyes, and I say that because there's a tendency, of course, as you all know, of your eyes to follow your hands. And so there's a tendency to be looking at the right hand. But if you allow your eyes to move in a smooth arc to the right, well, you'll see that the movement itself, your whole self will become easier, smoother, lighter. That's right. You'll find when you roll to the right, you open your eyes and you can see the wall probably to the right of yourself. That's it. Good. All right, let's rest for a moment. Now, put your hands on your lower abdomen. Your legs are probably long, but either way, you can have your knees bent if you like. And just observe your breathing. Observe that movement of your lower abdomen as you inhale. Is that different than when we started the lesson? Good. Please bend your right knee, stand your right foot, put your left hand behind your head. Put your left hand behind your head, bring your right hand to take your left elbow. And now this movement's going to be very small, and you have to think of organizing it mentally before you do anything. You're going to roll your pelvis to the left and pull your left elbow to the right as you exhale. So, of course, it's a very different movement than if the pelvis were rolling in the same direction. In fact, you can probably feel that your upper spine is turning in one direction, and the lower part of your spine is actually turning in the opposite direction. That's it. But still, within the context of the difficulty, and it is difficult to coordinate, you still feel where can you do less? And relax your jaw and your stomach and your left leg. And now switch your legs. So you lengthen your right leg, you stand your left foot, keep your arms as they were. In other words, your left hand behind your head. And now go ahead and push with your left foot against the floor and pull your left elbow to the right and feel, is something easier? Is your chest turning a little more easily? Your eyes turning a little more to the right? Very nice. Now, do this for a moment. Turn your eyes to the left as you roll your pelvis to the right and pull your left elbow to the right. So move your eyes in the opposite direction of your head. Meaning you have to deliberately, consciously allow your head to turn to the right while your eyes are going to the left. And now take everything to the right again. In other words, your eyes, your elbow, the back of your pelvis is lifting, your left knee is getting longer. That's it. And do that a few times. Feel the sensation of rolling to the right and going back to the middle, and rolling to the right and going back to the middle. Very nice. Please stop and just rest. Rest not because we're tired, but resting to observe yourself, to observe if there's anything about the way the left side of yourself is lying on the floor that's, interesting to you. The left side of your neck. Bend your left knee, please. Put your right hand behind your head. That's it. Your right elbow toward the ceiling, your left hand to take your right elbow. That's it. And slowly, you're going to press your left foot into the floor to roll your pelvis to the right as you pull your right elbow to the left. That's right. And why do we do this variation? Because many people are turning their head and neck in the opposite direction of the orientation of their pelvis. Go slowly. Only what's easy. That's right. Exhaling. Feeling where you can do less, where you can soften yourself. Beautiful. Switch your legs. Straighten your left leg. That's right. And now go ahead and push your right foot against the floor. Roll your pelvis to the left. Just slowly. Very good. It's actually quite pleasurable movement, isn't it? And now take your eyes in the opposite direction. That's right. Now, there's no need to lift your head. And the movement, by taking the eyes in the opposite direction, the movement becomes what? A little smaller, doesn't it? Because taking the eyes in the opposite direction, well, it restricts what happens in our chest and our spine. And now take your eyes to the left and feel that rolling movement. Your pelvis rolls to the left. Your chest is rolling to the left. Your elbow, your head. That's it. I feel some of you are what? Almost lying on your left side, aren't you? All right. Please stop and stretch out your legs. Can you feel that the change in your contact with the floor is general? There's no part of yourself that is lying the same as when we started. And that change in the quality of contact with the floor represents the way that our resting muscular contraction, our resting tonus has reduced, has lessened, has changed. Please bend both knees, stand both feet, and interlace your fingers. Interlace your fingers and bring your hands behind your head. That's right. So you interlace your fingers so one forefinger is on top of the other, and just note which forefinger is on top. And again, your hands are behind your head, not behind your neck. And now slowly you push your right foot against the floor to roll your pelvis to the left and allow your left knee to go to the left. Your right knee remains toward the ceiling, And that's right. And both elbows go to the left and your chest turns. That's right. And then you come back and both knees are pointed toward the ceiling. So it's as if it's one movement of rolling, almost like a cylinder to the left. That's it. And your left knee tilts toward the floor. In other words, you don't keep your left knee, your left leg stiff, but rather you let it tilt toward the floor. That's beautiful. And your eyes to the left, and you relax your jaw and your mouth. That's it. And now do exactly the same to the right. Just slowly. That's right. You have to have an image in your mind. That's it. You have to have an image in your mind of how you're going to organize now your left foot pushing against the floor. That's right. And your head is nestled between your two arms. That's right. Your head is held between your two arms. Don't lift. That's right. You don't need to lift your head. Your head will roll. Why will it roll? Because your arms are turning to the right. So your eyes are going to the right, not up, down, but to the right. As if your whole self has one intention. Excellent. Rest for just a moment. Feel again the width of yourself, the feeling, the sensation of your neck, your contact with the floor. And bend your knees, please. Stand your feet, shoulder width apart. Interlace your fingers in the opposite way, meaning the opposite forefinger is on top. That's right. That's right. Not in such a way that your fingers are turned inwardly toward the back of your head. So it's exactly the same, but your other forefinger is on top. And bring your hands behind your head. Good. And now see if you can coordinate rolling to the right with means your left knee is toward the ceiling and your right knee tilts toward the floor. That's it. Without pulling your chin down. That's right. And now to the left, meaning your right foot presses to the floor and your chest and elbows roll to the left. That's it. Just what's easy, just what's comfortable, and comfortable for you, not what you think should be or what might be for somebody else. This is only for you. And it's only your comfort rolling left and rolling to the right. And still softening yourself, allowing your knee to tilt toward the floor. Maybe you feel like it goes all the way to the floor. That's okay. That's it. Maybe you feel you're lying on your side. That's okay too. That's it. But first and foremost, your head is nested inside between your two arms. There's no need for your head or your neck to do anything at all. Your head is just resting there comfortably. And you'll see this notion of your head being held, supported by your arms, and the movement being more centrally organized will have a profound effect on the feeling of your neck. That's right. Maybe go a little faster, just a few times. Kind of, that's it. Still not lifting your head. That's right, but everything turning together. That's right. Good. Please stop. And please, one last time, stretch out your legs. Just observe, as we did before we started the lesson. Observe your contact with the floor, your shoulder blades. Would you say they're lying more symmetrically on the floor? In other words, more similar to each other, to one another? And bend your knees and spread your feet about shoulder width apart and put your right hand on your forehead, as we did at the beginning, just so you can know that the difference that you feel is real. And roll your head to the left, only what's easy, of course, but feel is something different, something feel more, I don't know, softer, lubricated, easier. And change your hands and just roll your head with your left hand to the right, but only what's easy. And relax your jaw. Very nice. And now, is there a difference, would you say? It's subjective, of course, but it's also objective. It's subjective because it's your sensations measuring if it's a difference. But it's an objective way of measuring. And take your time and slowly roll to your side, bend your knees, roll to your side, come to sitting, and then come to standing, but still listening to my voice. Just take your time, slowly. You're not in a rush. There's nowhere to go to. Without adjusting yourself, and just observe. Is the top of your head a little closer to the ceiling? Would you say your horizon has risen? In other words, the gaze of your eyes forward. Is that somehow, are you seeing further away? More toward the horizon than when we started? That's it. And just for a moment, walk around and see if something's changed in the feeling of your hip joints, your legs. And relax your abdomen and your mouth and jaw. That's it. All right. Thank you very much. Now, there's one last thing I'd like to say, which is that you will have access to this lesson. And if you could please, before next week's class, if you might do the lesson, I don't know, once or twice, of course, as often as you like, if you feel that it's, has therapeutic value for you. But in a way, we'll continue with the theme of this lesson, which I'll tell you the theme next week. But if you could do it once or twice before next week, That would be great. And it's not homework. I'm not going to check in with you whether you did it or not. And you have complete permission to, everybody has a busy life, so you have permission to not do the lesson. But if by chance you have an opportunity, that also would be great. All right. Thank you for your attention, which of course is very valuable. So don't give your attention to anybody who doesn't deserve it. And we'll see you next week.